Hi, Conrad Vernon, director of Sausage Party, and what else we want to know?
We're here in Italy.
Yes.
So let's talk about the origin, where the idea originally came from for Sausage Party.
It came from Jonah Hill, Seth Rogen, and Evan Goldberg. And so the story goes, Seth and Jonah would be in an interview much like this, and they'd ask, what's your next project you're working on? And they would jokingly say, oh, a movie called Sausage Party. And people would take them seriously and say, well, really, what's that all about? And they'd say, no, we're just joking, because all our films seem to, be full of guys all the time. So, but they would go home, and they were all hanging out one night, and they said, what would a movie about, called Sausage Party be about? And they started, just riffing on ideas about a grocery store. They said, and maybe at night the sausages get out of their package and they're desperately seeking buns to have sex with. And they just thought it was all really, really funny and, very fertile, as far as ideas were concerned. And so they said, well, let's give it a shot. Let's see if we can figure out something and make something out of it.
How challenging was it to convince Hollywood to have an R-rated CGI movie?
Extremely challenging. 3 years worth of challenging. And pretty much striking out at every major studio in Hollywood. We went everywhere. And we thought people would just be clamoring for this. You had Seth Rogen and Jonah Hill promising to star in it. You had, Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg writing it with two of their best writers, Kyle Hunter and Ari Shafir. I was directing it. We had designs. We had my good friend and co-director Greg Tiernan and his studio, Nitrogen Studios, on to animate it. I mean, we had a whole package put together. All we needed was a thumbs up and some money, and we were ready to go. And we would pitch it, and people would laugh and crack up and then say, I'm sorry, we're not doing this. And we did this over and over again for about 3 years.
What was it, that finally tipped it to the point where you guys got this made?
Well, it was, Megan Ellison and her company Annapurna. And she had read the script, fell in love with it, and I remember I was driving, probably to work at one point or back from lunch. And I got a call from Seth on the phone, and he said, what are you doing right now? And I said, I'm driving back from lunch. And he said, can you make it to Hollywood right now? We have a possible buyer for this, for Sausage Party. I said, absolutely. I spun around. I drove up to the house, and he kind of gave me the down low and said, this is Megan Ellison. Her company is Annapurna. They love the script. You need to go up and explain animation to them. And I said, great, this is fantastic. So I went up and sat in a room with everybody and basically told them how we would be able to do this for a price, and that they wouldn't have the exorbitant budget of a major studio film, I looked at the process and just said, okay, well, here's where we spend usually a lot of time on something, like for instance the development of the script or the rewriting of the script or the reboarding of the film 15 or 20 times. Looked at all those things and said, okay, as important as those might be, we need to do it a lot quicker, and we need to do it less times. And that's pretty much what I explained to them, and they said, okay, we love this, I think we can do it, and let's get going.
What role did advances in technology play in allowing you guys to have what you guys were able to make for a lower budget?
Well, I mean, we used all out-of-the-box technology, and software and programs, and we weren't creating any technology. I mean, a lot of the major studios have big R&D departments that, will figure out how to make things better and push it further. We just wanted to make sure we made it look good, and so all the advances of technology that the studios had made over the years definitely furthered the off-the-shelf software that you could get. And so, it had gotten to a point where you could make it look good as long as the rigs were solid and the animation was good and the lighting was beautiful. All the artistic, elements were solid and were there. Then we could make the movie look really, really good without having to create any new technology.
Can you talk a little about CGI and what it's been like exploring this story from an R-rated perspective, being able to just go in and do something that we've never seen before?
Well, basically, it was the technology has come far enough where where I found, this is what I really love about it, that you aren't constricted by anything. When I first got into animation, CG animation, I should say, it was hard to do mud, it was hard to do water, it was hard to do hair, and you couldn't touch someone's face. They said don't touch them, because we can't make this happen. And so there was all this stuff that you couldn't do, and you had to constantly, take the touch out, take the hair out, don't do this, don't do that. Now technology has come far enough where you can do all that. So what was really fun about Sausage Party was to explore doing more of a 2D style in the CG animation. Luckily, with one of the great things about being able to do it with food products in a grocery store was that everything's a box or a jar. So all we had to do was slap a face on a box or a jar, and then the main characters we did have, taco shell, lavash, a hot dog bun, and sausage. They didn't have hair. They don't have long flowing hair, and we didn't want them to look humanistic with knees and elbows and stuff. It started to look grotesque when we did that. So we basically just went right back to like the old 1930s Mickey Mouse cartoons with the rubber hose arms, Bosco and everything. We just said, let's just give them black rubber hose arms and legs and giant, funny Mickey Mouse gloves and big floppy, Mad Magazine Don Martin feet, and make it as cartoony as we can. And that does two things. It simplifies the rigs, but it also let us explore doing more of a Bob Clampett, Warner Brothers type of style, where we could have wiggly arms and wipes and multi arms and stuff like that, and really just kind of get more cartoony and animated with it, rather than having to try and make beautifully designed characters act as real as possible.
Once you guys did get the green light, how much cutting did there have to be between pushing the R-rated limit of what's out there, especially from a CGI storytelling standpoint, which is so much different from a typical live action type film?
Well, it wasn't. I mean, we never looked at it as okay, we have to write this animated, and then because it's R, we have to make it as dirty as possible. It is dirty, of course, I'll admit that, but it was we didn't try to make it dirty so that it would be rated R. We just basically wrote a movie that made us laugh. And because we have dirty minds to a certain extent, that stuff made us laugh really hard. And we didn't have to cut it out or sanitize it because it was rated R. So we could do whatever we wanted. But we were never insincere about anything that we were doing. We were sincerely trying to make a funny movie where you cared about the characters, that had a good story, and whether it was, the fact that we did it with food kind of dictated we do it in CG, because I think there was a story where one of the actors we went to actually thought it was going to be live action. We were going to dress up in food costumes, and no, I don't see that flying, and I certainly don't see people sitting for 85 minutes watching anyone in a suit do that.
Well, I'm assuming it's a little bit easier to get an orgy past the MPAA as CGI.
Actual food.
Actual food.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the only thing that was, we got away with it. The lavash has balls and you got to see them, so it was pretty amazing. We got away with that.
Is there like an unrated director's cut of stuff that will end up possibly on a DVD that got cut from the film in any way?
Possibly. I think it'll be in boards. The thing with animation is you don't animate things and then cut it out of the film. You only animate what you decide to put in the film. So we do have boards where we have a lot of really dirty stuff, and we also have, the MPA just drew the line on fluids. They said no chocolate syrup, no ranch dressing, no mustard squirting out of a thing, They just said no fluids, at all. And so we do have a version where do use the fluids quite a bit, So yeah, we might put that on the DVD as an extra.
Nudity is no longer a problem when you're dealing with food products, right?
No. I mean, none of them were wearing clothes to begin with. I mean, gloves and shoes, but that's about it.
Now that you guys are out there and you've done well, what impact do you hope that this film has on opening up a brand new genre, or at least showing Hollywood that there's an audience out there?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was, we've always, from the day one, always hoped we were going to kick down the door of the idea that animation was only for kids, and that there wasn't an audience. Like, people just don't want to go see animation unless they're dragged to it by their child. We're like, well, no, people go see these movies because they like them. I remember after Shrek 2 came out, I went to see it with a friend of mine and noticed that there was a 10:30 p.m. showing, and B, the whole audience was filled with adults and dates. So I was like, there's an audience here for it, but no one really wanted to take the risk that anyone, that no one would show up. And so I hope that we have, shown that there is an audience, that it is viable financially, and that it will give a lot of other animators out there that might have ideas for films that don't fit in this small little box that the animation industry has been forced into over the years, that they will get to tell their stories and they can make them any way they want.
When you guys were mapping this out, were you thinking bigger picture in terms of sequels or where these characters could go next?
We obviously thought about that. We were saying, are we going to make a sequel? We started talking about a sequel, what it would be about, where it would take place, and I think what we finally realized, and I think this is where people are right now. I haven't talked to a lot of the guys in a couple months now, so I don't know exactly. We're all off doing our own things now, but we're not going to do a sequel unless we have a damn good idea for it. But that being said, it doesn't mean we don't want to make more R-rated animated films. We there's going to be, we have a ton of ideas for other R-rated animated films, even if we don't make a sequel for this one.
We've seen a lot of animated films get turned into video games. What would the video game be for Sausage Party if you could do anything?
I'm sure we would come up with something that you had to collect, in each aisle, and then get to a place where you'd fight a boss. And then at the end of the game, there'd probably be video sex between all the food, But it would be pretty funny if we actually used like bit graphics and the old video, Atari 2600, sound effects for the orgy, it might be kind of funny. I don't know. I would love to see Sausage Party turned into a video game. It'd be pretty fun. I'm a gamer, so I would like to play it.
The other thing that we're seeing Hollywood just start to explore is virtual reality. What are your thoughts in general? It doesn't have to be about Sausage Party, about what that new medium is opening up for storytelling, especially comedy.
I look at it as something I've tried it. It's unbelievable. I think it's pretty spectacular. The kind of trippy side of me says that I just want to put those on and just kind of be in a place. You know what I mean? I've done it where all the guy had to do that was kind of taking me through this, all he had to do was turn on a little fan, and in the virtual reality, it felt like this beautiful breeze over me. And I was, because I was on a ship on the water, and I felt this breeze, and I was like, oh, that breeze is beautiful. And it's just a stupid little plastic fan. So it totally trips your brain up, and I think it's really a spectacular new technology. I think the key is making sure that you roll it out the best way it can possibly be rolled out. Use the technology. Don't jump straight into, trying to do something with it that it hasn't been thought about deeply enough. Like, if you're instantly going to put movies into it without understanding it and how it affects people first, it might hit the public the wrong way. People might, it's kind of like 3D. Some people might get sick, some people might be able to deal with it, and then all of a sudden people are saying, oh, don't do the virtual reality thing, it made me sick, But I think if you do it like in more of like, for instance, a video game, where people can control how fast things move, and people can, march forward or march backwards or look around and just kind of experience it and get used to it, then people are going to be intrigued by it, and they're going to want more. And I think that's when you can pounce on doing something more with it. Let the technology guide you to where it needs to be instead of forcing it into something. These are just my thoughts on the thing, because I love virtual reality. I would hate to see it, become a gimmick, that people use to try and get people, to buy more video games or to go to the theater or anything like that. It's like you want the technology to, to intrigue people and to deepen the experience, and not just try to force it into, a money-making scheme of some sort. Atari 2600 started video games off, and that's because people said I can control what's on my TV, and that was what was mind-blowing. And that's why they made so many games, but they didn't immediately go, straight into, something that would force the user to have it be something it wasn't. The user got to control where the technology went, because they were in control of, now I'm rambling, but they were in control of how fast it developed, and because they wanted more. So I mean, it's all a very complicated thing with new technologies for me, because if you introduce it to the public in the wrong way, it could backfire. So I don't want to see virtual reality go that way. I don't think it will. I think it's going to be something that's pretty spectacular. I just want to see how it works before I instantly start watching movies with it.
How do you feel your own gaming background has impacted you as you're directing and creating in CG?
I think, a lot of the games are so beautifully detailed, and the way they tell a story, is really interesting to me. But I think games are separate than movies. To me, they're separate than movies, because I get to, going back to my original point with VR, it's just like I'm in control of it. If I just want to walk around and look at the world and the beautiful detail, I'll do that. If I want to go on a mission, and shoot up a bunch of aliens or something, I'll go do that. If I want it to be really exciting, I'll be really exciting. If I want it to be kind of dull, if I want to solve puzzles instead, I can do that. It's all within my control, and I can make it as fast or as slow as I want. And that's what I love about video games and playing. They just kind of take my brain offline for a while, and I can just focus on one thing. And that's what I usually do it at a very odd time. It's usually like Saturday or Sunday morning for a couple hours over coffee is when I play. I'm not a late night player very much, but Saturday and Sunday morning in my sweatpants with a cup of coffee, I'll play for a couple hours. That's fun.